there, it's Lisa. I have a bunch of photos today to scrap. These were taken at a bird sanctuary, or a bird park they called it, that I went to recently. And I have these adorable photos of feeding the parakeets, which is real cute. I'll tell you the stories. I go through the fast forwarded part of the video. And then the rest of the photos were taken just of the birds in their various habitats. So I got a lot of photos. I have a few products pulled out, some flowers and things. I have a ton of stamps with birds on it since I love birds. I'm not sure if I'm going to use these or not though, because I mean, you're kind of already communicating the bird theme here just with the photos. The papers that I'm picking are from Stamping Up. This was their celebration paper pack called, oh, I can't find the name of it. Sweet Sorbet. Called Sweet Sorbet. This is not available anymore, but very often you can find these things on eBay. I love this paper, and I was really tickled that this big bold print looks so good with these photos. So I'm going to use a lot of these papers, and there's a matching stamp set, because I'm going to be doing this as I'm going to do a regular page, and then I'm going to do a pocket page. I do that kind of thing in my 2-page Terrific class. I'm going to do that kind of thing again here. The pocket page that I've chosen is a 3x3 grid, so there's 4-inch squares. So I'll be cropping my photos down to 4 inches. So some of them, you know, I'll have to crop some of the birds and stuff out, but I think I can still get, on all of these, a good picture with just the 4 inches, at least all of those. I'm going to put those on the single page. Now, normally with this kind of thing, I would pick out some photos and put them in here. I could trim them down a little bit here as far as weeding out some and just do 9 photos and be done with it. But I'd like to have some of those little squares to, you know, do some extra things with the pattern paper and embellishments. And I don't really want to weed down my photos, so I've decided to go ahead and use both sides. That also solves the problem what to do with the back side. So this is actually going to be a 3-page layout instead of a 2-page one. So my first chore here is going to be to crop some photos and start arranging them and work on the other pages, and I'll fast forward and talk as I go. Most of these photos cut down to 4 inches very easily. However, I have a couple here that I'm having to kind of take a look at, just laying something 4 inches over the top of them. This one with the duck, I'm going to have to cut out one of those ducks because there's just not enough room. But I get those cropped down, and I'm going to do the arranging on some white, this is actually some lightweight chipboard, but it's 12 by 12, so that I can show you these without the glare of the pocket protector, and so that I can more easily move things around. So as I'm arranging these, I'm, you know, kind of deciding which photos I think kind of go together on a page and which ones are the most important to me, that were most interesting, or the ducks that I really want to talk about the most. So I put those with the 2-page spread, and then the others on the back side. And I'm going to have one of these with 5 photos and then one with 6 photos. So the page on the far right is going to be the back side. And then those other 2 photos will be on a page by itself. I'm still moving things around and just kind of deciding a little bit there. Now this paper is beautiful. It has the floral design, and then it has a chevron on the back. I know I want to do the 2 photos and then have a place for my title. I will probably do more of the journaling over on the little squares, but I need to pick out some papers for the squares. So I have lots of pretty papers from this collection. I'm just going through and deciding which ones that I want to use, which colors I like. There's quite a bit of black in this collection, and I didn't feel like it went with things as much. I like that about the collection, but I just felt like I wanted to keep all the pastels here and keep the high contrast in the photos, so that all the little squares are more the pastel colors. And I love that stripe. I'll probably use it as part of maybe a border over on the left-hand page. So I'm going to trim those down to 4-inch squares. I've got those ready to go. And I've kind of got my hand over that. Those photos there on the left just keep glaring in the camera. We'll cover them at different times. Now, this little story here beside of those birds, I'm getting the stamp set out. There's a place in there called the landing zone. actually, before I get into that, let me tell you about these. I bought these. These are from Studio Calico, and I thought these were like little photo corners. It turns out they're not squared. They're actually part of chevron design, so that was something different. So I didn't end up using those, but I will come back to them in a few moments. Now I'm just making some notes here of what I'm going to do journaling about. And while I'm doing that, let me tell you about the photos on the far left. The area in the park called the landing zone was a netted area where you went in and there had birds like these parakeets in there, and you bought a stick with food on it. And you went in and the birds would land on you and eat the food. And of course they know what's coming. They understand that you, the human, are there to feed them. And I was trying to take their picture just by myself. I was just there by myself. I was trying to take my picture and manage my camera. And at one point, I got some pretty good pictures, but at one point I put the camera and everything down, including the stick, so I could get a better get some better photos. And when I went to pick the stick back up, the birds had run off with it. Birds were gone, the stick was gone, everything was gone. It was so funny. But I did get some good photos, and you'll see those better as we go along. And at the end, you can see that one a little bit there on the right side of the screen. Now I'm doing some stamping here on cardstock. I decided to cut my letters for this page with my new silhouette, which I'm very excited to have. I've had a Cricut that I could cut letters with before, so it's not a totally new thing for me, but the silhouette does a fabulous job of cutting. And since I had this is Stampin' Up! Paper and I had Stampin' Up! Cardstock to match, it made sense to use it, but to make it a little bit more interesting, I did some background stamping on it first so that these letters wouldn't be quite so plain. And then just stacking up, I did a shadow out of Sahara sand paper for the shadow, because that's one of the colors in the papers for some of the letters. And then the word view, I just cut it out, and I'm not going to put a shadow behind it. I thought it was kind of interesting enough without it. Now, a little trick I've learned from Nicole McGork over the years is sometimes if things don't show up well enough, add some vellum. So I'm going to put a layer of vellum behind my words, because otherwise they're just not showing up quite enough on this bright, busy paper. The word view did, but the word bird's eye just did not. And another advantage of using vellum is you can put your words right on the vellum away from your regular paper. So I just put the vellum down on my gridded paper and used it to line everything up. I'm putting a little bit of washi tape here to hold that in place so that I can glue my letters on there and keep them nice and straight. And I'm using some Tombow adhesive to put those in place. And I'll do the same thing with view once I get everything glued on there. So I have this on. I do want to create a pocket because I have the brochure from the bird park. And I'm looking at some different papers. I really had in mind using this coral colored paper, but I'd already cut the word view out of a paper of that color. So I decided it would look better in more of a gold color. I have the gold pattern paper from the collection. And I have some cardstock. I decided on the pattern paper, the cardstock was it's just a little too much gold. That's a color, I can't remember, I'll have to put it on the screen. Something about sunburst, starburst, I don't know. It's a color that's going away from Stampin' Up! In the next few weeks, but I love it. It's an unusual color, and it's just really matches a lot of things, and I like working with it, I think, because it's so unusual. But I have it in the cardstock and in the ink pad, so I'll probably be continuing to use that quite a bit over the next couple of years. Getting a few border strips down here just cut out of the various papers. And then I'm going to glue my pocket on. I like to glue pockets on with some kind of really good sticky tape. So this is Creative Memories, which I don't know that I can get anymore since they've changed their line. But the roll of this lasts a long time, and when it runs out, I'll probably go to the red sticky tape. Sorry about my head there, but I'm basically getting the tape around 3 sides, and then I'll just adhere that down over top of the brochure and make sure the brochure can still be pulled out. Now I have some flowers there from Prima that I showed at the very beginning. I picked out a few colors there that they actually had some colors that really matched that Sahara sand, so I thought I would use those on that layout, this layout, since that's so unusual. I've printed out my journaling on vellum, and I'm going to kind of continue the vellum across the page there. And then I'm doing some groupings to make this, even though it's two different kinds of pages, a 12 by 12 and a pocket page, to still make it look like a continuous flow there. I talk about that quite a bit more in the two-page terrific class. I do one example with a pocketed page and then the rest in traditional pages. All right, so I've got some stamps here and some colors of ink from Stampin' Up, except for the coral color that they have. I didn't have that ink, but I have a Hero Arts ink that matches it really closely. And there again, I'm going to have to put that on the screen. I'm not recording this right in front of my inks, so I can't tell you exactly what color is what, but I can put that color on the screen so if you happen to have some of these Stampin' Up papers, there is a, if you don't have the ink pad from Stampin' Up, you can get one from Hero Arts that's a really close match to it. And I'm just trying several different designs. This one I had trouble with. This is the pool party color, and I really needed to have ordered a re-inker for that. I just did a Stampin' Up order, and I did remember that I needed that re-inker. So I cut out a few in different colors and different designs, and I just rough cut them around the edge, you know, kind of followed the design. I didn't try to punch them or anything because I wanted that more authentic kind of look, as though they were die cut. So it's kind of got all the little ridges around the edges of these things. I'm just creating some different groupings, and I am going to stamp a design up on that little polka dot pattern up there on the top. And I decided to do this out of the Pool Party ink, which unfortunately I already knew wasn't really inked very well. I tried it out, and for some reason, I don't know why, I thought it was going to come out better on the designer paper. It didn't end up showing all that well. So I go back later and add some more of this so that it will show up a little bit better. And I even tried it again down at the bottom, and it just didn't come out all that great. But there's a little bit of design there. And I do have a paper I want to put across the bottom, and my camera cut off there, but I'll show you a little bit later how I glue the vellum pieces on. Now I have a piece of metal that I wanted to add something else to that pocket, and this little piece of metal says friends. That's what it says, friends. Well, I don't know that I was actually friends with the birds. I was the feeding source. I wasn't their friend. So I didn't really need the word friend, but I just liked the color and the fact that it was a little metal piece and it was something different. So I just tied some twine around it to cover up the word and give it a little more interest. And then I'm going to repeat that twine down at the bottom part of the layout. And you can see up in the upper right corner of that polka dot piece, there's a stamped image there. I added another stamped one, and that showed up a bit better. I keep my extra twines that come with kits just on a piece of cardboard or chipboard. And I need a little something more on that coral piece on the right, so I added a little piece of paper. Now here's the way I do the vellum, is I just use a little bit of Tombow adhesive, and especially if you're adhering it to pattern paper, you won't see that adhesive through if you just put some dots of it behind the words. I accidentally got some adhesive on one of my photos though, so I need to cover that so it won't be sticky. And I'm counting back in my head to get the right date for this, so I can stamp the date on the sticker. It's an October afternoon sticker. And I think I got the best date stamp I've ever gotten. Because usually those don't come out quite as good as I want them, but that one showed up really good. Okay, now this is that third page, and I'm just kind of looking at how to arrange things, where I want to put maybe a little bit of extra paper. Kind of continuing some of the designs from the previous page. I had to move the papers around a little bit because my words were not showing up well enough on that polka dot. A friend sent me these brads for my birthday, and I just love them, and they match this layout perfectly. So I'm going to pick out a couple of brads here and put on my layouts. Love to use brads. I like the look, and they're wonderful because if you get one you don't like it, you can just switch it out with something else. And I have a cute little sticker there from October afternoon I'm going to put on my photo as well. So kind of getting down to the final touches for the page. Maybe one more brad down here, and it'll end up creating kind of a trio of metal objects. Right, and we're about ready to look at the final page. Here's the double page spread and how it will appear, and I'll pick it up here in a moment and show you some close-ups. You can see the 3 different groupings that I have, the repeating of some of the papers, and that little extra sticker, and then the 3 metal pieces, and a subtle ways to draw your eye around the page, around the 2-page spread, even though there's different kinds of pockets for these, the 12 by 12 and then the 3 by 3 arrangement over on the right. And then here's the back page, and I've already gone ahead and put it in its pocket. So you can see how it will look. I just really did some design up there at the top. I did on the right side, there's a green square there, and I stamped some little arrows. This came out of the Stamping Up set, and I stamped those with that Hero Arts Coral Color ink, and that came out great on the green. So that kind of moves your eye more towards that page rather than paying attention to what it's going to be beside of in my album. So if you like doing multiple page layouts, please check out my 2-page terrific class. It's available through my blog. And thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, I always love to get a thumbs up. And I hope you'll check out my videos next time.